Man, inspiration is such a perishable thing. When you have something that inspires you, you have to take that thing and you have to run with it. For me, one of the biggest things that gets me hyped up, that gets me inspired, is seeing somebody do something that is completely out of their comfort zone. I was going for a walk with my dog around the block. I see this guy who has a walker. He's probably in his 40s, and he looks like he just had a stroke. And he was running with his walker around, doing laps around the neighborhood. It was not pretty. It looked like he was really struggling, but he was still going out there and getting after it in spite of his limitations, in spite of something that was obviously extremely challenging for him. In light of being inspired, in light of seeing people do things that step out of their comfort zone, I've chosen today's video with that in mind. This video was sent to me by a good friend of mine by the name of Eric Doyle, who is also known as the Unconventional Athlete on Instagram. He's a kettlebell instructor out of Long Beach, California. Eric sent me this video on Instagram, and it is of a fairly well-known jiu-jitsu practitioner who is known as the Black Belt Slayer. He's known for having a very intimidating presence, clearly lifts weights, clearly is very strong, but kettlebell training is something I've never seen him do in any of his videos before, and it is clearly something that is out of his comfort zone. And for that reason, I give him all the credit in the world for stepping up and trying something new. But with that being said, he put it on Instagram, so we are going to lean into it a little bit today, and I'm going to tell you what I think of Nicky Rod's kettlebell training routine. Without further ado, let's jump into it. There's two clips we're going to look at today. First is the full routine, which is from a YouTube video, and the second one is going to be off of his Instagram. Okay, so we're jumping into this. They are at the Onnit Gym in Austin, Texas. They're kicking things off with asymmetric farmer's carries, which I'm a huge fan of. I love doing asymmetric carries. I think that's the way to go if you're doing this type of exercise. Doing it with the weight in one hand as opposed to two is going to also challenge the opposite side of the body to stabilize the movement. So I actually find it to be a better and more effective exercise for performance when doing it unilaterally as opposed to bilaterally. Watching Nicky do this exercise, he's not really sticking to the script here. This is an exercise not intended to be rushed. You want to take your time with it. You want to focus on your posture as you're moving through the exercise, and you'll notice that as he's going through, he's leaning a little off to one side. You want to stabilize, make sure that you're upright to involve the opposite side of the body, otherwise you're just completely neglecting the point of the exercise. Also, not only posture from a side-to-side perspective, but a front-to-back perspective. You can see that he's leaning forward as he's working his way from one side to the next. So you want to make sure your posture is upright and symmetrical from side to side when doing farmer's carries. When I'm doing farmer's carries, I like to also focus on my breathing. I think that's a really important aspect of the exercise that can get overlooked. I really like focusing in through the nose, out through the mouth, or out through the nose to really establish control over those breathing patterns while doing something that's really challenging. So he's rushing through it. I would not rush through it. I would take your time with this movement. Do it up hills, do it, there's a million different ways to do it. But I don't think you should be running while you're doing it. So let's slow things down a little bit. All right, so they're going into an EMOM, a sequence of several different exercises that they're doing together here, starting with a clean, to a squat, to rows. I think there's some deadlifts in there too. So this is very similar to the video that's on Nicky's Instagram page. So we're going to delve into this a little bit deeper. Let's jump over to Nicky's Instagram. Let's pull up a different angle of the same series of exercises, and let's look into it a little bit more. So here we go. We're going deadlifts to bent over rows to cleans and here they're doing like a reverse jumping lunge. I think in the other clip they were doing squats. So deadlifts look pretty good. It's hard to tell back positioning as they're working through it, but looks fine. kind of rushing through it into bent over rows, and then we're going to cleans from there, and the cleans are a disaster. I think they're doing it for the gram and that they're trying to go through the movements at a very high pace to create the impression that there's a lot of energy to the workout and make it more exciting. But this exercise, I mean, you need to take your time as you're working through each and every repetition. So with that being said, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna show you how to do a double bell clean today. I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna show you how it should be performed as opposed to what you're seeing here. All right, guys. We're gonna jump into some double bell cleans. I'm gonna show you how to do this exercise properly from the ground up. I'm gonna teach you the basics of it so you have an understanding of how to do this effectively and safely and how to incorporate it into your strength training routine for combat sports. Let's take a look. All right, so first things first, stance and getting the bells off the ground. When you're doing this exercise, it's going to be a little bit different than a standard clean with one bell. 2 bells, wider stance. You need more room to get the bells through your legs. Second thing is you're going to be hiking the bells off of the ground. You can orient the bells in a couple of different ways, depending on what's comfortable for you, to get the bells up through the legs into the front rack position. For me, I like to angle the bells a little bit because it helps me create a little bit of rotation as I pass the bells through the legs and gives me a little bit of torque to get the bells up into the front rack position. So that's what I'm going to do to start my set here. Okay. Once the bells are oriented the way that you like, you're going to grip the bells. Something of note when you're performing cleans. Personally, when I'm doing this exercise, I like to grip the bell with my pinky pretty close to the middle of the bell. So the thumb side of the bell is where a majority of my hand is going to be. Once again, this is a consideration for rotation as you're bringing the bell up to the front rack position. From here, I'll give you a demonstration of the movement before we do it with bells. Contacting the bells, low back is neutral, head is neutral. You're going to hike through the legs. From here, the movement is initiated by hip extension. Extension, that should power the bells up. They should start floating, should draw them into the front rack from there. Stabilize that position before moving anywhere. From here, draw the elbows back, let those bells fall. Once they get about here, start to send your hips back quickly, and then either power up into your next repetition or bring the bells back down to the ground. Let's see what that looks like in real time using kettlebells so you can practice this on your own at home. Wider stance, hinging those hips. Orient the bells in a way that you like them. Neutral spine, grip in a way where you can perform the exercise safely and effectively. Let's do it. All right, so after having watched my breakdown of the kettlebell clean and comparing it to Nick's technique, you can see some pretty clear differences in terms of what's happening there. The clean is supposed to be a very efficient and powerful movement. There should be no wasted energy. The bells should not be flapping or flopping all over the place. And unfortunately, that was not what was happening with Nick's technique. It was very loose. It was not linear. It was just not an efficient motion. And that's just a byproduct of him doing something that he's not used to doing, not having the proper coaching in doing it, advancing to an exercise that he probably shouldn't be doing. Yeah, all those things together make for bad technique and an inefficient movement. So I would say start with a single bell motion and then work your way up to double bell motions once you have those single bell techniques down pat. You know, I applaud Nick for putting this out there. I applaud him for trying something that's out of his comfort zone. Like I say, inspiration is brought on by watching people do challenging things, and this is certainly a challenging thing. It's something that he's not used to, so props to him. But if you don't want me to review it on YouTube, I wouldn't put it on the internet as of yet. So with that being said, if you are looking to get into kettlebell training, props to you. I give you all the credit in the world. I want to be here to help you in that journey in bettering your performance making it more safe and making it more effective. So because of that, we have some resources that are available to you over at MomentumWOD.com. Head over there, there's a link in the description. We have hundreds of free workouts and instruction on how to perform the exercises safely and effectively so you can perform those workouts and get the most out of them. Also, if you ever have any questions, please reach out to me. You can leave a comment below. Let me know if you have any concerns about kettlebell training, getting started, anything along those lines. Further, if you want to jump over to Momentum WOD and want to give it a try, there's a free trial, free 7-day trial linked in the description below, which you can take advantage of here and now today. So that being said, my name is Dr. Brandon Osborne. I'm the Director of Training over at Momentum WOD. I think I've said that like 5 times. But with that being said, I'm signing off for the day. I appreciate you joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've gotten something out of it. I hope Nick checks this out and gets something out of it. I will see you guys next time. Until then.